I grew up in a beautiful family. I had everything I wanted.
I'd be the designated driver because I didn't want to drink because I didn't want to become an alcoholic like my mom was.
There was no singular defining moment that allowed it to start.
My dad passed away. He was my best friend. And so I found alcohol and I found my new best friend.
So my mom died as a result of her drug and alcohol use. That was a very traumatic episode in my life.
I've always had an addictive behavior, but as far as substances go, I didn't pick up a drink until I was 35.
The first time I had alcohol, I was 20 years old.
My addiction started when I was 14 years old. I was introduced to crack cocaine by my best friend's mom. I was homeless 11 months ago. I was living in a tent in Provo Canyon.
I started drinking with reckless abandon for my own life. Here I am. I've become this monster that my mom was. I got fired and ended up being homeless, and it didn't have anywhere to go.
Part of the problem with addiction is that it impacts the frontal lobe of the brain. Addictive substances hijack the logical center of the brain. And at the same time, they're impacting the pleasure center, and the brain is really focused on give me more pleasure, give me more pleasure, give me more pleasure, and don't think of the consequences.
Sobriety Foundation started in 2012. I had just lost my son from a drug overdose. He struggled for about 10 years, and I saw him go through so much. He used to say, once I am sober, I need to learn how to live sober. And a doctor and his wife, who were the founders, came to me and asked me if I would be one of the signers on the 501(c), which makes us a nonprofit organization.
As a physician, it is incredibly challenging to treat people with substance use disorder when they don't have access to even basic needs like stable housing and safe support from family members or friends or other members of the community. Treatment of substance use disorder does not last 30, 60, or 90 days. It is an ongoing process and a lifelong journey.
Sober living is a good resource for individuals that are leaving residential substance use disorder treatment and don't have any safe and supportive housing options.
Sober living is not covered on insurance at all. The money that we use to scholarship people into sober living, which means we pay their rent for up to 2 months, is all from donations and grant money that we receive at the foundation.
The Sobriety Foundation offers many scholarships every year to individuals, but we also have to turn a lot of people away based on lack of funds.
As of 2018, 360 people die a year from an overdose, and that is just in the state of Utah. And we want to keep all the money that comes in to support people in Utah here in Utah.
Our goal is to one day be able to provide scholarships to anyone that comes to us in need in order to support their long-term recovery efforts.
I think that sober living is vital to my recovery and anyone else's recovery. I think it gives you healthy boundaries, and it gives us a safe place to be able to experience sobriety in a healthy manner.
So living in the sober living home has given me sisters to be connected to be accountable to. It's giving us a house manager to also be accountable to.
The Sobriety Foundation has helped me because I didn't have any income. I don't have family support or help from anybody on the outside.
The Sobriety Foundation stepped in and said, we'll pay for your sober living. And that was an amazing gift in my journey.
I got help from strangers. And that moved me more than anything else in the world.
I'm getting a job. I have connections with women. I have healthy relationships now.
These days, I work for a group called the Utah Support Advocates for Recovery Awareness, so USARA. I do community outreach for them. I also do a lot of advocacy work, so I help influence elected officials on issues that affect people in the recovery community. And so I'm able to be the voice for people who may not have a voice up at the Capitol.
I'm able to have dreams and goals that I can see are attainable and with the Sobriety Foundation helping fund that and give me that footing, I can now look at things knowing that I have a future.
Keeping people in our community healthy impacts all of us, whether or not it's someone you know or not. We're all impacted economically, emotionally, and socially by substance use issues.
I believe that the Sobriety Foundation is important because not all individuals can afford or have access to safe, sober living. There really isn't any other foundation that is helping provide safe, supportive housing for people with substance use disorder. And it's a requirement, in my opinion, to have those aspects covered. Housing, safe, supportive environment if people are going to continue to engage in their recovery process and get well.
Donors for the Sobriety Foundation should know that their money goes to help people that really are in desperate need.
I think one thing that is most important is that there is hope out there. And here at Sobriety Foundation, we believe in that hope for every individual to get sober. Not only have long-term sobriety, but long-term recovery.